Hello everybody, it's your old pal Y here, and today we're talking about something a little bit different, a little bit heavy, but ultimately, I think, really important. We're going to be diving into the concept of countries where immigrants might not be as welcome as you'd expect. Now I know this is a sensitive subject, but I think it's crucial to approach it with nuance and understanding. Look, the idea of finding a new home, a new start, it's something that resonates with so many of us on a deeply human level. But the reality is, navigating the world of immigration laws and policies can be incredibly complex and often heartbreaking. So, in this video, we're going to take a look at some of the countries that have gained a reputation for having particularly strict immigration policies. We'll explore the reasons behind these policies, the historical context, and most importantly, what they mean for people seeking a better life. So, buckle up, grab your thinking caps, and let's get started. Okay, let's kick things off with a country that's probably already on your radar when it comes to, well, being closed off: North Korea. Now, it's no secret that North Korea has this reputation for being, shall we say, a little reclusive. They're like that friend who always says they're too busy to hang out, but like, for decades on end. And this isolationist stance isn't just limited to, pop culture and the internet, it extends to their immigration policies as well. We're talking about a country that's notoriously difficult to even visit, let alone set up shop permanently. The reasons behind North Korea's strict immigration policies are complex and deeply intertwined with their political ideology, their history, and their current geopolitical standing. It's a country that's been shaped by war, by division, and by a deep mistrust of the outside world. And that mistrust, unfortunately, extends to those seeking refuge or a new beginning within their borders. Now, I don't want to paint an entirely black and white picture here. It's important to remember that behind these policies, there are human stories. There are individuals and families who for various reasons might find themselves seeking entry into North Korea. But the reality is, the chances of gaining access to, let alone being granted citizenship in North Korea, are astronomically slim. We're talking winning the lottery while being struck by lightning kind of slim. It's a country that prioritizes its own version of self-reliance, of maintaining its cultural and ideological purity, and that often comes at the cost of welcoming outsiders. And look, I'm not here to pass judgment on an entire nation or its people, but I do think it's crucial to understand the realities of these policies, to acknowledge the human impact they have, and to engage in these conversations with empathy and a willingness to learn. From one unique nation to another, let's shift our focus to a country nestled high in the Himalayas, Bhutan. Now, unlike North Korea, Bhutan isn't exactly known for being closed off in the traditional sense. In fact, they've often made headlines for their commitment to happiness, their gross national happiness index, and their stunning natural beauty. But beneath this idyllic exterior lies a carefully guarded cultural identity, one that's been fiercely protected through, you guessed it, their immigration policies. You see, Bhutan isn't just trying to preserve its environment, it's also trying to preserve its way of life, its traditions, its very soul. And that means keeping a tight rein on who they allow to cross their borders and potentially influence their cultural fabric. Don't get me wrong, it's not like Bhutan is completely shut off to the outside world. They do welcome tourists, but even then, it's carefully regulated and often comes with a hefty price tag. And for those seeking something more permanent, something that goes beyond snapping a few photos of majestic mountains, the path is even more challenging. Bhutan's immigration policies are designed to prioritize preserving their cultural heritage, their national identity. It's about protecting what makes Bhutan, well, Bhutan. And while that might sound admirable on the surface, it's essential to consider the implications for individuals who might be looking to Bhutan as a place to rebuild their lives, to escape persecution, or to simply seek new opportunities. The reality is, gaining citizenship in Bhutan is exceptionally difficult, often requiring marriage to a Bhutanese citizen or demonstrating exceptional skills and contributions to Bhutanese society. It's a balancing act, trying to preserve a unique culture while also navigating the complexities of globalization and the universal human desire for movement and connection. And while Bhutan's approach might seem extreme to some, it does offer a unique perspective on the challenges of maintaining cultural identity in an increasingly interconnected world. Alright, let's shift gears again and journey to the Arabian Peninsula, specifically to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Now, Saudi Arabia presents a fascinating case study, a country that's both deeply traditional and undergoing rapid modernization, a place where ancient customs collide with the demands of a globalized world. And this push and pull between tradition and progress is clearly reflected in their immigration policies. Saudi Arabia, as you might know, is home to some of the holiest sites in Islam, and religion plays a central role in their society, their laws, and their approach to immigration. For decades, Saudi Arabia has relied heavily on a system known as the kafala system, which, to put it mildly, is controversial, to say the least. This system essentially ties migrant workers to their employers, often leaving them vulnerable to exploitation and abuse. Now, in recent years, there have been some efforts to reform the kafala system, but challenges remain. The country is still grappling with issues of human rights, worker protections, and the overall treatment of migrants. But here's where things get even more complicated. Saudi Arabia is also a country with a booming economy, fueled by its vast oil reserves, and this economic prosperity creates a demand for labor, a demand that's often met by migrant workers from countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and the Philippines. So you have this interesting dynamic where Saudi Arabia needs migrant workers to sustain its economic growth, but at the same time, there's this deep-seated desire to maintain cultural and religious homogeneity. It's a delicate balancing act, and one that Saudi Arabia is still trying to figure out. And it's important to remember that behind these policies, behind the statistics and the headlines, there are real people with real lives, hopes, and dreams. Next up, let's hop over to another Gulf nation, Kuwait. Now, Kuwait, much like its neighbor Saudi Arabia, is a country that's experienced rapid economic growth, largely fueled by its oil reserves. This economic boom has predictably led to a significant influx of migrant workers drawn to the promise of higher wages and better opportunities. But this influx of foreign workers has also created societal tensions, raising questions about national identity, cultural preservation, and the role of expats in Kuwaiti society. And these tensions are reflected in Kuwait's immigration policies, which are notoriously strict and often described as being designed to discourage permanent settlement. One of the most significant hurdles facing immigrants in Kuwait is the difficulty in obtaining citizenship. We're talking about a country where it's incredibly rare for naturalization to be granted, even if you've been living and working in Kuwait for decades. This strict approach to citizenship is rooted in a desire to protect Kuwaiti national identity, to ensure that the country's wealth and resources remain primarily in the hands of its citizens. And while that might make sense from a certain perspective, it also creates a system where generations of migrant workers contribute to Kuwait's economy and society without ever truly being able to call it home. It's a complex issue with no easy answers, and it highlights the challenges faced by many Gulf nations that are grappling with the social and cultural implications of rapid economic growth driven by a reliance on migrant labor. And look, I'm not here to offer simple solutions or pass judgment on Kuwait's policies, but I do think it's crucial to have these conversations, to shed light on the experiences of immigrants in these countries, and to approach these issues with empathy and a willingness to understand the nuances involved. For our final stop, we're heading to another Gulf nation that's been making headlines in recent years, and not just for its hosting of the World Cup, Qatar. Qatar has transformed from a modest pearl diving nation to a global player in the energy sector, fueled by migrant workers. These workers built Qatar's skyscrapers and infrastructure, but face exploitation and human rights issues. Qatar has implemented reforms, but challenges remain in achieving true labor rights. Citizenship laws are restrictive, making it hard for migrants to settle permanently. It's a complex issue needing empathy and commitment to solutions that respect all people. So there you have it, a glimpse into some of the countries where immigrants might not be as welcome as you might expect. It's a heavy topic, I know, but I think it's so important to engage with these complex issues, to challenge our own assumptions, and to approach these conversations with empathy and a willingness to learn. If you found this video informative, even a little bit, please do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow and allows more people to join these important conversations. And hey, while you're at it, why not subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos where we delve into more fascinating, thought-provoking, and maybe even a little bit controversial topics. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay compassionate.